All right, I think we're live, which is good. Hello, everybody. If you can hear us and see us, say hi in the chat. We're going to start in about 10 minutes. We have good morning from the Zerf fam.
Yeah.
Nice. The McEwens are in the house.
So that's just popping up in front of you. Let me see.
Well, no, it's gonna pop up because I'm selecting that.
Okay, no, I see it now. I toggled another switch over there.
Alana's saying good morning with her parents, Ross and Maureen, which is great. The bros are saying hi. Hello, bros. Daryl Raymer's here. Now we can officially start when Daryl's here, which is great. Lynn, it's great to see you. Oh, the whole Fukumoto family is here.
Do you know what was funny, Ben, is that last week I did get a beautiful message from a family, and it showed a picture of one of the daughters who was quite surprised that Pastor Mike has a cell phone. So I remember I went to my cell phone to get the passage of scripture, and I was reading from it, and the little girl just fell off her chair. She goes, "Oh, look, see, he has a cell phone." I was like, "Hello, I had a cell phone before it was even popular. Like I had a cell phone that was about this big. Like it was as big as a shoebox."
You had the brick.
Took two hands to hold it up to your head.
Oh, cool. You know what's very funny is that I don't have a cell phone. But that's more for, personal reasons. I just don't want to get reached everywhere I want to go, and I don't want to have the addiction device always with me.
True.
So, yeah.
Good morning to Montreal, Quebec. Bryan, Denise, glad to see you.
The Sayers family. I love this comment. Real people. Oh my gosh. Real people. We can tell that maybe you were starved for actual contact with other individuals.
Yeah.
Good morning, Enos. Good morning, Neil and Pat. Good morning, Barry. Good morning, Debbie. Hello, Eldon.
Finnegan.
How
many remember Finnegan?
Casey and Finnegan?
Yeah.
I could do that. Sometime I could do a puppet show. We're not going to do a puppet show today, though.
We could do that, sure.
The key is you have to make it not creepy.
True.
Yeah. By the way, I know Pastor Mike was really celebrating his win from last week about his knowledge of superheroes. And I know some people commented, I made a comment 20 seconds before Pastor Mike said it. So technically the chat won. And while, yes, that is technical, we do have a 20-second delay on things. So we do have a slight advantage here. If you make a comment, we're going to see it maybe 20 seconds later. So just to make that a note for you. So you did have a slight advantage, Pastor Mike. I think you needed that advantage, to be quite honest.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yes. Morning, Jazz. Okay.
My family's watching, which is great.
You wake them up before? Did you wake them up before you headed off? Did you?
They woke up way before I did.
Really?
That's always the case. Yep. All the Sarahs are here. Bryan and Denise from Montreal.
Someone's really rubbing it in there. So he really lost, is what they're saying about me with the game last week. I would, yeah.
Well, no, I think it was a win for you. I would take it. It's fine.
Oh yeah. Okay. Hey, did you hear about the person that was checking with Siri, or was it Alexa? Finding out about the weather. Did you hear about that person?
No, but I'm afraid that when you said those names, that it's automatically going to turn it on people's devices.
Hey Siri.
Yes.
It's okay, dear. It's all right. I'm fine. Good night.
You call Siri dear? That's another reason why I don't have a cell phone, by the way.
Anyways, they were checking in with Siri and said, "What's the weather for tomorrow?" And Siri said, "It doesn't really matter. You're not going anywhere." Do you know? And some probably have seen it from on TV. I thought that Rick Mercer did his rant. I thought he did a great job with the basically staying in and stop looking for loopholes and stop trying to go underneath police tape. Just stay home. Mm. I thought that was a great. I thought he was pretty funny. Pretty funny. Hey, listen. Those of you who are on already, we're really glad you're here. We don't officially start for another 10 minutes or another 10 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So I'm interested in knowing from you a little later. We'll have part of our chat, an opportunity for you just to mention in the chat. You don't need to do it right yet, but a little later. What was your experience when we had communion together? What were some of the things that happened to you, for you in your unit there at home? Communion, what was special for you? So I'll ask that a little bit later.
Okay.
Just want to cue you in. Don't want to surprise you, blindside you.
Get your answers ready now.
Yeah. Operators are standing by, ready to take your call.
Hello, Walter and Myrna. Hello, Jane. Hi, Carol. Hi, McClungs and Hoskins. It's great to have you join us. Yolande. Hey, Julie Hogaboom is on.
She's in the other room.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I put her over there. She's in the soundproof room.
Hello, Erickson family. If you have kids, we are going to play a game a little bit later. And I had some people actually say to me that when we go back to having normal services, they're going to be so used to having like a game that they're going to just revolt on us. So hopefully that won't happen. But
yeah, true. Hey, do you know? Yeah, well, that could happen. You know what's really cool? I know there's lots of crazy stuff happening, obviously. Our services, what we're doing now, are reaching coast to coast. We have somebody in BC that's tuning in. We have, of course, the Verse Lewises that are tuning in from out in Labrador City. We have people, I think, as far south as one of the Carolinas. We've got Tennessee is in there, and people from other places. It'd be great just to hear some of the places you're from. So we're really glad that you're tuning in.
Right. And the Onleys from just down the street.
Yeah, they are just around the corner. Hey, yes, yeah, that's yeah, great.
All right. So I think we're going to start getting things underway. So in just a second, we are going to have a video with Pastor Bryan. And so I'm just going to mute us for a second while we set that up.
Good morning, Arlington Woods. I hope you're having a great day. As we come together for this service, even though we're not in the same place, we're at home, and we're getting probably really cooped up at this point. We just need to continue to be reminded that God is great. Like He's in control. We can can trust him with all things. And that through all these things, through all this pain, God is here. So I would just sing the song together. Join with me as we sing Great Are You, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only, Lord. Great are you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, we pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. Let's just be the time that we just continue to sing praises to God, even in the storm, in this difficult time. And we just shout His praise and give it all to Him. Even though we are far apart, it does not mean that we cannot sing loudly and let God know that we know He is here and that we are loved by Him. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry, these bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour Great are you, Lord. God, we just pray to you today that you continue to remind us that you are with us, that we never have to turn away from your heart, that we can find peace in you. And even when we feel alone and separated, we can be reminded that we are connected by one God, one breath that comes out of us. When we sing your praise, when we talk, when we do anything, it is your breath coming out of our lungs. So let that be what we think of today in this time where breath and those kind of things is becoming fearful. May we be reminded that your breath is what lives inside of us, what gives us life, what fills us, what keeps us alive. So let that just be what we need to focus in, that your breath is in us and you conquer fear, for you are great, Lord. In your precious and holy name, God. Amen.
Hey, thanks, Pastor Bryan. It's a great pleasure to welcome those of you who are just sort of tuning in with us now. We're really glad that you're here. I know these are unusual times, but it is really good for us to be together. And so welcome. Glad that you're here. We have another special guest or person that will be part of our service today, and that's Pastor Lynda. There she is. Look at her. Looking great. Can you talk?
I can talk. Yeah.
Oh, all right, come on.
I didn't know that I was supposed to.
No, sure you are. Let's just this is just be natural. This is just what we do, and we're really glad that you had the opportunity to go to Ethiopia and that you returned safely. And this morning, just want to give you a little time to talk about that, and then hopefully there'll be some more time later for you to delve a little bit more into it. We've given you some time this morning just to share a little bit. So, Lynda, the floor is yours, or the camera is yours.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. This is certainly a new experience for me. I don't know whether it's more scary for me to talk to you and not be able to see your faces, or to actually be in front of you and have to see you looking at me. So anyway, I'm sure we'll get through it. It's good. It's so good to be here. And I'm happy to share with you just a brief glimpse of my trip to Ethiopia with Tear Fund. The next slide, please, Ben. This is our team. In Ethiopia, Tear Fund works with the Terapeza Development Association, which is part of the outreach arm of the Wolita Hewat Church. This church has hundreds of locations in southern Ethiopia, and what they're doing is amazing. We attended one of these churches on the Sunday morning, and there was 3,000 people there. It was a children's program, and there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children. And it was such a privilege to be part of that. We sat there in that quite a beautiful building for over 3.5 hours. So it was a great experience. This is our team that went to Ethiopia. It happens that everyone on the team, except for one man in the back row, we're part of the Free Methodist Church here in Canada. It isn't always that way with the Discovery teams, but the Free Methodist Church in Canada is a strong supporter of Tear Fund. Okay, Ben, next one. We were very privileged to actually meet this woman on the right-hand picture. We stood in the field with her and looked at her maize that was doing so well. She was so happy to share with us how the TDA people came back to her for 2 or 3 years to try and convince her to change their farming methods. The field on the left would have been her traditional farm. You can see how sparse it is, and you can picture how deep the water would be over the plants when the heavy rains would come. It would be washing away the soil. The other picture shows clearly, and it showed it so clearly when we were standing there with her, how the conservation agriculture system left lots of mulch on top of the ground. They were cuttings from the previous crops, and they kept the soil in place so that when it pours rain, her plants remain and were very healthy, and she was able to realize 2 or 3 times the yield from her small plot. She was so excited because now she could feed her family for 12 months of the year. At first, this new system of conservation agriculture seemed impossible to this lady and many others like her. It went against everything that she had learned over her lifetime, farming methods that she learned from her family and from her parents and her grandparents. But as the crops grew and survived, through the rains and the changing seasons, she realized that sometimes the new methods were better, and she was happy to follow through with them. Okay, Ben, the next slide. This picture shows a group of men that we sat with out under the trees with children, always children in the background. It's called a self-help group. These men have been taught by the Tarapeza Development Association, made possible through Tier Fund, how to form this group. They set aside a few birr each week. And I have to tell you, a birr is the Ethiopian money denomination, and 100 birr is equal to $3.20 in Canadian money. So you can understand that a few birr is really pennies that these people were saving. This small amount donated by each man in the group makes it possible for these people to buy equipment, to buy extras for their family, to maybe buy medical help or medical drugs. In the past, this was an impossibility for these folk. They needed money for an emergency. They would have to go to the money lenders, who would give them the money, but at a very, very high rate of interest. This way, the group lends the money only to its members. Very exacting records of donations and expenditures are kept by the group treasurer. The request for money is discussed by the group, and the group decides if it's a good use of the money, and the group decides they lend the money to the member of the group. They run no risk of losing their money because the group members are their friends and neighbors, and they trust them. Very careful accounting as what is lent is kept by the treasurer. A plan of repayment is always carefully set out. If a problem arises, the self-help group can go to the TDA advisor for help and advice. In one woman's group that we met, the lady told us how her daughter had left home and moved to the city. While the daughter was there, she became pregnant. The mother was very worried about her and wanted everything to go well when her baby was born. Normally, there would be no way this woman could travel to Addis Ababa for this situation. In this time, the woman approached her self-help group members. She was approved and given the money to travel to the city to be with her daughter over and following the birth. She was so grateful to her friends and neighbors that they were willing to share what little they had to enable her to help her daughter. The next slide. We saw so much poverty, but we also saw many, many happy people. Happy because they now had hope. They were being empowered by their local church through the TDA and Tier Fund. They are being empowered to better their situations and themselves through new agricultural methods, new methods of preserving their seeds and their crops, and new ways to meet their own needs through the self-help groups. This is an amazing feeling for these families because in the past, they felt helpless and hopeless because they had no way to meet the necessities of their family or to feed their children. My last slide, please, Ben. I hope that you will feel led to support Tier Fund. You can go to tierfund.ca to make a donation. It's been so great to be able to share with you. I hope that at some future date, and Mike says I can, so it'll work, I can share more pictures and other stories. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Thanks, Pastor Lynda. That was wonderful to hear from you. While you were talking, there were quite a few people saying that they were happy to see you and have you back. You're a familiar face. You have been here at Arlington Woods, and it's great to have you be a part of the service this morning. And thank you for all that you're doing in behind the scenes to help Arlington Woods right now. And we do look forward to hearing from you again regarding Tear Fund. Well, that's good. You know, we try our best to, with this new technology, and we're definitely not a TV production studio by any stretch. And so how things work right now is Pastor Ben is pulling a bunch of levers. He's producing everything that we're doing from his location, from his house. And I'm here. Pastor Bryan is and Emily, they're in, as you know, they're in Labrador City in Newfoundland. And Pastor Lynda is, I could hit a golf ball. Well, probably 2 shots to hit her house from here, but she's at her house. So we're trying our best to pull all that together. So if you see glitches, I think earlier there, I may have been in the show. Is that right, Ben? I was in the show, but I didn't realize that I was. So hopefully I didn't do anything that was embarrassing. Well, more than normal, that is. So anyways, kind of a low budget when you're not really ready for all this. So anyways, earlier I asked the question of us to get your feedback on what were some of the things that you found meaningful to you when we had our communion service together. So maybe we could just share a little bit about that in the chat section there. Just give you a second just to respond. What were some of the things that you found to be beneficial or helpful during that communion time? Let's give you a second. What stood out for you? Was it a good time for you and your family? If you're there isolating with the family, that's your bubble, or was it just a good time for you individually? So I see that it was someone in the community. It was nice to do communion as a family. It allows us to continue what means a lot to me that I miss. We were blessed to be part of it. We found it very moving. Connected us as a church family. It was symbolic of the Passover during this time. Yes, it was nice to have communion with family. We had to use tortilla chips. Well, that's okay. It was uplifting. I heard somebody say they had, I think it was Christmas cake or something, Christmas bread or fruit bread. Wow, that we were able to do it with everyone, even through a computer. It was nice to have the kids join us and ask questions during that time. A good reminder that the kingdom of God is all around us, not limited to a building. That's right, exactly. I still felt connected to others in the church. Yes, communion was very meaningful, felt like we were all together. Although I was alone, it was a blessing to know that so many others were doing the same thing, and having communion brought us a bit of normalcy in a chaotic time. Somebody else used Ritz crackers. Right on. It felt emotional and meaningful, especially during these challenging times. Did for me too. It allows us to embrace our faith, but feel alone. Although I am alone, it reminded me that I'm not. Wow, this is great stuff. God did something, didn't he? Very meaningful and connected with the body. Communion is always a moving and powerful experience, whether live with others or virtual. Right on. You keep writing those things. You know, what we're trying to do is trying to live out our faith in a time when we can't necessarily be together. So the church has gone outside its four walls, and we're trying to figure out, what does it mean to be the church in a time of pandemic when we can't be together? And so as staff and as a people, we're just praying, God, show us the way, because we haven't been here before. And I think one of the examples for me is when the children of Israel left Egypt. I thought of that example probably early on of everything that's happened, but I just felt really impressed to share that this morning. And that is that during their journey, you know, they had everything that they needed in Egypt. They knew where to go get the water. They knew where to go get the food. They knew what to do. And then several times throughout their journey, God had to show up through Moses and Aaron and just show them the way. And I think that's what we're trying to figure out right now. We're on this journey, and not a one of us has ever been here before. There's been different things have happened to us, but not like this. And so we're trying to figure it out, and God is showing us. We're praying and we're expecting God to show us, and He is, which is reassuring and brings hope into our situations. And it really was impressed upon me early on that we just really need to spend time together having communion. And I was impressed to do that. So that's why we did it last week as soon as we could. And so that's an important time for us. So that's all I wanted to share now. Pastor Ben, I think he has a game or something for the kids.
All right, so maybe you can tell there's something a bit different going on over here. I'm kind of hanging around. I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah. It's either you or me.
Yeah, this isn't your screen, by the way, so don't adjust your set. This is on purpose. We're going to play a game in a second, but before we do, I just want to mention, Pastor Mike, it's tortilla, not tortilla, okay? I just want to mention that.
I thought maybe she spelled it wrong. I'm not sure. I just was saying how it was spelled. That's all.
All right.
Sure, I knew that.
Okay.
I'm better with kinds of pies than I am chips.
Okay. I'm going to talk to the parents and the kids for a second, and then we'll bring you back in a minute there, Pastor Mike. All right. So you may notice something is weird right now. You may notice that I am upside down. That is for a very specific reason. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But before we do, we are going to play a game. And this game, I'm going to be upside down for it to make it extra hard and extra challenging. By the way, it is really hard for me to hold onto the ceiling with my feet. Like, I've got it gripped right in like a bat. That's the only way I'm hanging in here. So this is a feat. I'm just telling you, this is an incredible feat. But we're going to play a game together. Now, this game, the first time that we got together online, I did a drawing game. And some of you just thought it was awesome and it had a lot of fun. Some people criticized my artwork. Apparently, it wasn't good enough. But we are going to do that again. But as a challenge, we are doing it upside down. And I explain why we're doing it upside down in a second. So I'm going to draw something. And then I want you in the comments to guess what it is that I am drawing. All right. And so I've got like a handy sheet. Now it's going to be hard because, first of all, it's upside down. So it's going to be just crazy. So kids, I hope you can guess. Let your parents know to put it in the comments what it is that I'm drawing, and we're going to try to guess them all. Okay. So here we go. Here's our first one, and it's upside down, and I'm a bad drawer. So there's that. All right. Okay, so far, this is what we've got. Yes, Bethany, my toes are sore right now. All right, so I'm trying to think what's the way that I can kind of help you guess what this is. I want you to say this word. Man in hat is too vague. It is too vague. All right, it's too vague. Okay, Levi said it was a cowboy, and Levi, you would be right. Let's see the star, the sheriff star. I was trying to help you out. Lynn, it was not Mr. Potato Head. Scott, very good. A Mountie, it was very close. Okay, so it was a cowboy. All right, So here's our next picture. Okay, here's our next picture. You let me know if you can guess. Okay, so we got this here. All right. Volcano is kind of close, but it's not. You're very close. Something is coming out of the volcano. Definitely volcano. Okay, yeah, well, it's very close. Let me give you a hint. It's something that comes out, that flows out of the volcano. Lava. All right. That was very good. I'm assuming Zoe guessed that. Very good. It was lava. Yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to do 2 more here. All right. Let's see if we can do this. Okay. You can put your guesses in there, kids, what you think it is. All right, so I see a shoe, a boot. I see a shoe. It's not a shoe. It's something specific in this picture. But I guess it is a shoe. Okay, the Erickson said shoelaces, and you are right. It was a shoelace. So very good. And by the way, that's pretty impressive that you guys are figuring that out even when it's upside down. All right, we're going to do one last one. Here we go. Last one today for you to guess. As you can see, my art has greatly improved. All right, here we go. It's hard for me to show you what it is that we're doing here.
You said that your art had actually improved?
Yeah, I think it's improved.
Let's go with that.
All right. I've been taking lessons.
That from your kids?
Yeah.
Anyway, you're much better than I am.
Okay. All right. So what do we got? We got a baby. Pastor Mike. Someone said Pastor Mike.
I'm a baby?
It's not, though. It's not. It's something specific. If you can see, there's an arrow pointing at something. All right. The Buffos, they got it right. It is a diaper. It is a diaper. Although there was a time where Pastor Mike dressed up like a baby, if you can remember, and it was pretty awesome. All right. I just have something just to quickly mention to you kids and you families that I hope you had fun playing the game. I hope you enjoy our time playing games. It's a lot of fun. All this month, because we're starting a new month, we're in April, and we have a special theme, and that theme is upside down, where Jesus changes everything. Okay, so we're talking about Jesus all this month, and we're talking, and the theme is upside down, hence the fact that I was upside down. See, there was some method to our madness here. And today, actually, or this week's lesson is on putting others first. Putting others first. Now, in this week's Kidzone video, we are going to be looking at a pretty important story, okay? We're going to look at how Jesus, he knew he was going to die on the cross. And he spent a whole night in prayer. And during that night of prayer, Jesus prayed something really important. He prayed, God, I don't want to go on the cross, but instead of what I want to do what you want. Now, Jesus, he didn't want to die on the cross for the sins of the world. I don't think any of us would have wanted to do that. But he actually chose to give up what he wanted to do what God wanted him to do, and to put us first. And because he did that, he actually fixed the broken friendship that we have with God and made a way for us to be forgiven for all the wrong things that we say and do. It might seem a little bit upside down, a little bit backwards to give up what you want to do to put others first. Because, we all naturally want to put ourselves first. We all naturally want to get what we want. For example, why should I let my little brother or sister choose the game to play? Like, I want to be the one who chooses. Or why should I help my mom or dad when they ask me for help? I want to read a book, or I want to play video games, or I want to play with my toys instead. Or maybe you'd say, why should I give some money to help a charity? To give to the church, or to give to FAMSAC, an organization that feeds people in our community. Why would I do that when I would rather spend that money on myself? Or, another question you might kind of think about is, why should I stay indoors and keep my distance from people during COVID-19? I want to go and play with my friends. I want to do whatever I want. I don't want to listen to those instructions, right? But Jesus, he doesn't want us to be selfish, where we only think about what we want and we only think about our own needs. But he wants us to be selfless, where we show love for others by putting them first, even if it might be really hard. And that is something that Jesus modeled for us. So parents, I want to encourage you to send your kids sometime either today, not right now, but sometime like later today or sometime this week. I want you to visit arlingtonwoods.ca/kids with your kids, and I want you to view the Kidzone video lessons for this week. There's actually a special video available for preschoolers. There's also one for younger elementary age kids that shows an animated story. And there's also a video for older elementary kids, which features the So-and-So show, and it features a lot of fun drama. And all those video packages also include a worship song. So, this is a really great opportunity for you as parents and kids, as families, to get together and to focus on God's word. And this week, we're kind of looking at this story of Jesus praying before he was going to the cross. Because, of course, this coming weekend is Good Friday and Easter Sunday, where we're celebrating and remembering what Jesus did for us. And so we're leading up to that. So I would encourage you, parents and kids, visit that site and watch those videos sometime. And there's one other thing I just want to mention. This is especially for parents. This Tuesday at 8 p.m., we are co-hosting a special event on Zoom with the Meeting House and several other Ottawa area churches. In fact, we were supposed to all get together and do this physically. We were going to have this special event with a special speaker physically, but obviously because of our situation, we can't do that. So it's moved to Zoom. This is a special event that's for parents, and it's called Raising Disciples During COVID-19, where pastor and author Natalie Frisk will be talking about how we can make faith matter to our kids, especially during this kind of time. And so this is something that's really awesome for you to check out. And I do want to mention that the link for more information about where you can access this special presentation, it's in our video description below. So you can find it there, or you can email me at ben@arlingtonwoods.ca, or you can hop on our Facebook page to get more information about that. But it's going to be a pretty awesome event. And, as a parent myself, I can really use the encouragement. I can use some ideas about how to better pass on my faith to my kids, how to encourage them during this time. And so I really want to encourage you, if you can, to check that out. That's at Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So I am going to invite Pastor Mike back in here. So let's see if we can find him. There he is.
Hello.
And I'm going to just take off for a second here.
Okay. Thanks, Pastor Ben.
All right.
Just a couple things. Just wanted to mention that Natasha says that her daughter saw that video that he was referring to as far as the children and thought it was great. So just wanted to highlight that. There are a couple things that are happening coming up this week. Just want to highlight a couple announcements. One is that we have an all-day prayer. It starts in the morning and goes into the evening. And just wanted to highlight that for you. You can go to the webpage. It's showing there on our screen. You can go to our webpage and then pick it up there. I'm sure we'll be promoting it also on our Facebook feed as well. There's going to be, you can sort of jump in, be a part of the Zoom call, be a part of that prayer time. It'll be happening every hour, right straight through that time frame. Thank you, Larry, for putting all that together. A lot of work. And there is a actual document that was sent out to you. And if you need more information, you can just contact Alana, info@arlingtonwoods.ca, or you can look for another, we'll send out a link again first thing this week, just to let you know that that's coming. And it's a prepared document that helps you to follow through with our prayer time during the day. So you'd like to be a part of that, I'm sure. The other thing is that we have every day from 7:30 to 8:30, there is a virtual prayer meeting. And I've just been really blessed by this time. It connects me with other people from our church, just super excited about that. And others have joined us as well. And it's just a great time. There's been anywhere from, at the beginning stages, there was like 18, 19, as many as 35 that are showing up for that great prayer time. So I just want to encourage you to come and be a part of our time there. This Friday, Good Friday, our service is at 11 o'clock as opposed to 10 o'clock when we're normally having our services. It's at 11. And partly the reason for this is that we're working in conjunction with the Free Methodist Church in Canada, and Pastor Ben's ability to pull all these things together during this time has been noticed, and our church has been noticed in terms of our ability to be able to produce this. And so we're working alongside of and supporting Bishop Cliff, and there will be others that will be participating across the country. I will have a small part in that, and it will just be a great time for us to come together. There'll be communion, so you'll need to get your elements ready and bring those to the service. You'll receive information there in terms of a link so that you can join us on Good Friday at 11 o'clock, and we'll make sure that we get that information out to you. I think perhaps already some of that's been sent to you, so just really want to encourage you about that. Next Sunday, 10 o'clock is Easter. Please don't miss it. It's just going to be a great time for us to be together as we remember what Jesus Christ did when he rose from the dead and gives us great hope. If there's any hope that we have to be able to share with others, it is that, for sure, that Jesus Christ rose. That is the basis of our faith. Really want to encourage you. You may not love us, but if you want to like us on Facebook, that would be awesome. That way you can be up to date on some of the things that are going on in the life of the church. Normally there's lots of things that we put out, not only during this time, but we have been previous to this. So you want to like us. You don't have to love us, but you have to like us anyways on Facebook. That would be super. Then also, if you'd like to receive regular updates in terms of out of our office, the things that we're highlighting, information we want to put out there to you, then I would suggest that you go to info@arlingtonwoods.ca and be asked to have your email address put into the rest of what we're doing. Hopefully you are getting into a bit of a routine. Things, are different, obviously, but you're starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm by now. And hopefully we can continue to encourage you. We as a church, as a staff, have been assessing, where are we and what do we need to be doing? And some of the things that we're trying to do is just really to encourage spiritual growth. That's happening through our small groups that are meeting in their Zoom sessions. We're doing it through you being able to come together for our prayer times. We're doing it also by us talking about important topics. I couldn't think of a more important topic that I'll be talking about just in a few minutes, and that is about talking about relationships. We have a concern. And that concern is that during this time of pressure and feeling crisis and all the things that are happening around us, that we're going to come through on the other side. And we may be challenged in some of our relationships, maybe even to the point of just packing it in. And we want to, right now, we want to tell you that you are important, your relationships are important, and that's why we're spending a little bit of time talking about this morning. But I have further news to that, and that is that I have been able to talk to one of our local Christian counselors, And we're going to be setting up a time after Easter where we can pull as many people want to come into a Zoom session. She's going to share, it'll be about an hour long. She's going to share some tips, some things that she knows about that she can share with us that will help us and encourage us in our relationships, because we all need to come together and we all need to make it through the other side. And we don't want to leave anybody behind. We want all of us to be in that same place. So she's going to have some great principles. You'll have some opportunity to ask her some questions, and we hope to carry that on for as long as we need to. The other part of that is that if you want to set up a time where you could talk to her personally, then we will set that up so that that can be arranged. So we'll have more details about that as we get together next week. It'll start in after Easter. So just want to highlight that for you. Also, you should know is that during this time, we are helping to resource as much as we can some of the frontline workers in terms of helping those that are in need, whether it be for our food banks, for those that are struggling when it comes to food, whether it comes to us helping people, reaching out to them and supporting them in whatever way they have. So if you have, a need and you need someone to talk to, I would suggest that you reach out to Pastor Lynda. And you can do that by either phone the office, and it'll take maybe a little bit to reroute. The easiest way would just contact her, Lynda@arlingtonwoods.ca. That would be great. Some of you may wonder about how to give during this time. If you still have the ability, you can either send a check or you can go online as the screen there, just arlingtonwoods.ca, and there's the donate button. You can donate that way as well. So we just are thankful, so appreciative for all the people that are continuing to give during this time, and helps to make everything go in terms of us using those resources and putting those back out into our community. So, hey, I want to bring in a familiar face to you. We're glad to have with us. There she is, Stephanie.
Hello.
Hey. And she's gonna, I don't know, you're gonna lead us in a song, Stephanie. You're gonna sing. We're really glad that you're part of this morning, and God bless you. You sing.
Well, it's really good to join you from my living room this morning. We're gonna sing a song that lots of you are familiar with, but before I do, I just wanted to share. Last night, my family and I watched the Disney movie Onward, the new one. And there was a point in the story where the main character had to cross this chasm that was just giant without a bridge. And he had a special wand with magical powers. And his brother challenged him, walk across without anything. Just, but if you believe, your magic will carry you through. And so he took a step, and he was standing there on air. And he took the next step, and he almost fell, because you have to believe with every step or else the magic doesn't work. And it reminded me a lot of the story of Peter walking on water to Jesus, and how with each step through the storm and through the chasm of our goal, we need to be taking each step in faith with our eyes fixed on Jesus, or otherwise we will sink. So that's what this song is based on. And I just hope you'll all join me in singing. Call me out. Call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand. And I will call upon your name, and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours. truth today in the storm, that you would help us to rely on you and to believe and step in faith every day as we face our challenges, the normal challenges of life that come regardless of a crisis, Lord. Struggles in our relationships, grief from lost ones. They're all still here, Lord, and we need you now more than ever. Sweep through this place, we pray. Sweep through our hearts and cause us to believe in you more now than we ever have before. And to unite in the ways that we can to bring you glory. Be glorified today and in our hearts. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Wow, thanks, Stephanie. That was awesome. It reminds me of King David. Before he was a king, would come in and he would sing for Saul, whose heart was going through a tough time, and he would call for David to come and play his harp and to sing, and that would soothe Saul's mind and his heart. And you're doing that for us, our congregation, and thank you for joining us this morning. And you guys stay safe.
Thanks for having me.
Right on. Wasn't that awesome? That was great. Just really appreciate that. We want to talk just a few moments about relationships, because they are really, really important. And can I just be right up front with you and blunt? And that is that in my life, I will disappoint you. I'm going to let you down. I'm going to make mistakes. At times I'm not going to get it right. There's times I'm going to make you angry. In all of our relationships, we have those challenges because we're human. The marriages and the relationships that make it through it are the ones that acknowledge that, but also look for ways to be able to make things right. The ones that are able to be strong and healthy are the ones that are able to talk about those things in a good way. And so in a few moments, we're going to talk about a few things. There's about 7. And one of the things I didn't mention earlier while we're talking about it is that if you are in YouVersion, it is a Bible app. If you are in a YouVersion, I just figured this out. It took me this morning to figure it out. But if you go to the YouVersion, you are able actually to pull up the notes. And there may be some other place, and we'll make sure that you get this in the future. Pastor Bennett mentioned this to me this morning. I think I've forgotten. But if you go to the Bible app, and if you go down to the very bottom where it says More, and you hit the More down at the bottom, and then you go to Events, and you allow for your computer, you allow for your phone to pick up for the Bible app to pick up your location, you will see right at the very top, actually, we have there Arlington Woods Church live. And if you hit that, that's where our notes are. We have notes for our sermons, and that's where they are. So sorry it took a little bit of time for me to go through that, but that'll help you if you want to take notes. It'll be right there in your YouVersion. We'll get more information out to you on that so that you're kept up to speed. So I want you to know what's going on. Relationships are really, really important, and they are worth restoring. Some of you made a vow, some of you made a commitment that I'm going to stick with you through thick and thin. Come what may, hell or high water, I'm going to stick with you. And in some of your relationships right now, you're finding it a bit challenging. And I just want you to know that perhaps more than any other time, you probably need to, around some issues, you need to walk a little bit more gingerly. You need to give what I would call a wider berth. give some space for people to work out things because, again, many of us have never been here. So it's important for us to be able to work through some of those things. But hear what the Apostle Paul says. He told us this in Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. I talked about this last week, but it comes from the Message. If you've gotten anything at all out of following Christ, if his love has made any difference in your life, if being in a community of the Spirit means anything to you, if you have a heart, if you care, he says, then do me a favor. Agree with each other, love each other, be deep-spirited friends. Paul says that our ability to get along with others is a mark of spiritual maturity. And right now, during these challenging times, we must learn to be peacemakers. And this would be certainly challenging for any time, but certainly during this time. Peacemaking is not avoiding conflict. There may be, I think there's the Kenny Rogers song, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, when to walk away and when to run. Perhaps it's true now. You really have to choose your battles. There are some things that you just need to lay aside, but there's some things that you need to talk about because they're important. Also, you need to know that being a peacemaker is not appeasement. It's not being a doormat. And again, when we work through these things and get through the other side, it may be better at that time to look a little bit more about how does that work. But it is important to talk about your feelings and to address those. God calls us to settle our relationships with each other. 2 Corinthians chapter 5:18 says, all this comes from God who settled the relationship between us and him and then called us to settle our relationships with each other. So there is that vertical relationship with him, and then there is this relationship that we have with others, and he calls us to work those things out. The first thing that's important for us to recognize is that when we're dealing with conflict, we're dealing with issues, is that we need to talk to God first before we talk to the person. Discuss the problem with him. If you pray about a conflict first instead of gossiping to a friend, which is easy for us to do, and sometimes we do that by saying, you know what, I really need to tell you something. I need to reach out to somebody else and to get their input. Perhaps it's better, I think it's better to go to God first. And God will either change your heart or he changes the other person without your help as you talk to him. Tell God your frustrations, cry out to him. He's never surprised or upset by your anger, so tell it like it is. Whether you're hurt, or there's insecurity, or there's any other emotions, tell him exactly how you feel. He won't be surprised by that. You say, well, yeah, I know about that. You know, most conflict is rooted in unmet needs. Some of these needs can only be met by God. Okay. Unfortunately, instead of looking to God, we look to others to make us happy. And then we get angry when they fail us. God says, why don't you let me be first? Come and make me first. James 4, chapter 4, verse 1 and 2 says, what causes fights and quarrels among you? You want something, but you don't get it. You do not have because you do not ask God. James 4, verses 1 and 2. First thing you need to do is talk to God. The second thing that you need to do is that always take the initiative. Whether you feel as though you're 90% of the problem or 10% of the problem, you're still part of the problem. So if you can, as difficult as that is, but you don't know how they hurt me, you don't know what you don't know how deep, how much they are part of the problem. It may be true, but if you will just make the first move and go to the offended, then God says that he will help you and encourage you. Restoring broken relationships is so important. Jesus commanded that it even took precedence over going to worship. That it's important he said, if you enter your place of worship and about to make an offering, you suddenly remember a grudge a friend has against you, abandon your offering. Leave immediately and go to this friend and make things right. Then and only then come back and work things out with God. how easy it is over the course of time to have been in a bit of a relationship tug of war. And have you ever been to the place where you've forgotten actually what you're fighting about? I've had those times where you kind of go, it's maybe a week or two, and you're still angry, you're still upset about something, and you've actually forgotten why you're angry with that person. That's why it's important to take the initiative and to go deal with it. Don't procrastinate. Don't make excuses. Take care of it now. The delay only will deepen the resentments and makes matters worse. In conflict, time heals nothing. It causes hurt to fester. If you just say, well, you know, this will blow over, it usually does. Often there is an accumulation of things that happen in those times, and it's important for you to take care of that. The other thing that's important in times of disagreement in relationships is not to pull up the things of the past and add to the bomb or the storm that's already happening by bringing up something that has happened months and years ago. Deal with it and make it current. Talk to God. Always take the initiative. The third thing is to sympathize with their feelings. Main thing here, very simple, maybe challenging, is that use your ears more than your mouth. Your physical attributes, your body, use your ears. You've got two of them, one mouth. Before attempting to solve any disagreement, you must first listen to their feelings. Paul advised this in Philippians chapter 2, verse 4. Look out for one another's interests, not just your own. Focus on their feelings and not the facts. Do you ever get in an argument and you are thinking about what you're going to rebut with, how you're going to debate their quickness and what they're talking about, and you're not really listening? Just take a moment and listen. And some of the ways that you show that you're listening is by nodding your head. And so, you know what, I heard you. You talked about the pain. Some of the best ways that we can communicate is to repeat back what you heard, so that the intended sender in their communication has been received by the intended receiver in the way that they had intended for you to receive it. They're speaking to you. They're talking about their feelings, and then you respond back to them in kind. Psalm 73, verses 21 to 22 says this. David admitted, when my thoughts were bitter and my feelings were hurt, I was as stupid as an animal. That's what the English version, how they said it. That would not be an exact interpretation, but it's one that helps us understand it. Sometimes we could be like a brute animal, and our instincts when we're hurt is to respond with hurt instead of just listening and waiting and responding in a way that brings about the best. Can I just suggest that perhaps you would get in a place where you'd say, I value your opinion. I do care about this relationship, and you matter to me. The cliche is true. People don't care what we know until they know that we care. Talk to God. Always take the initiative. Sympathize with their feelings. The fourth thing is to confess you're part of the conflict. If you're serious about restoring a relationship, you should begin with admitting your own mistakes or sin. Jesus said it this way to see things more clearly. First, get rid of the log from your own eye, and then perhaps you will see well enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye. We all have blind spots. Let's admit it. It's troubling for us sometimes to even admit that. Ask God to show you how much of the problem is your fault, and ask, am I the problem? What part of me is the problem? Am I being unrealistic? Am I being insensitive? Or am I being too sensitive? The Bible says if we claim that we're free of sin, we're only fooling ourselves. So why go on doing that? Confession is a powerful tool for reconciliation. Often the way that we handle a conflict creates a bigger hurt than the original problem itself. When you begin by humbly admitting your mistake, it diffuses the other person's anger and disarms their attack, because they were probably expecting you to be defensive. Isn't that the way? I know it is with me. I find that often it can be that I'm thinking about myself and I want to make sure that I get my licks in, and I want to make sure that you know what, there's been some challenges we've had, Julie and I, over the course of these last 3 or 4 weeks. But over the years, God has helped us to be able to understand how best to diffuse those things. And sometimes it's helpful to have other people in your relationship come together and help you. Don't make excuses or shift the blame. Just honestly own up to any part that you played in the conflict. Accept responsibility for your mistakes and ask for forgiveness. Those are so powerful. Those are such powerful words. I am sorry. Don't put a but in there. In your arguments, don't put but. You make me feel this way, or you, I would have done this, but you didn't do that, and so we make excuses. Attack the problem, not the person. You cannot fix the problem if you're consumed with fixing the blame. You have to make a choice between the two. The Bible says a gentle response diffuses anger, but a sharp tongue kindles and temper a fire. You'll never get your point across by being cross. So choose your words wisely. A soft answer is always better than a sarcastic one. I think probably more than ever, because of everything that's going on around us and the sensitivity that we need, is that probably now is not the time to be as sarcastic. I preach to myself when I say that, because if there's anyone that has the ability to be sarcastic, it is me. And so I try hard not to be sarcastic, because then things can be taken in the wrong way and then put you in a downward spiral. In resolving conflict, how you say it is as important as what you say. There are lots of times I will say something and my facial expression says something else. It's a whole different cue. It's the way I hold my body. It's the way that I say something that may in my head say that I'm trying to diffuse something, when everything in me says, you're angry, you're upset, and what you're saying right now doesn't make sense with the way your body's speaking to me. So learn from, if you can, what's going on with your body and how you're saying things. For the sake of your relationships, you must destroy your arsenal of relational nuclear weapons, including condemning, belittling, comparing. Only if you were more like so-and-so, labeling, insulting, condescending, and being sarcastic. Paul sums it up this way in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Do not use harmful words, but only helpful words, the kind that build up and provide what is needed, so that what you say will do good to those who hear you. Talk to God, take the initiative, sympathize with their feelings, confess your part of the conflict, attack the problem, not the person, cooperate as much as possible. Paul said, do everything possible on your part to live in peace with everybody. Romans chapter 12, verse 18. Peace always has a price tag. Sometimes it costs our pride. It often costs our self-centeredness. For the sake of the fellowship, for the sake of you being a group, do your best to compromise, adjust to others, and show preference to what they need. A paraphrase of Jesus' 7th beatitude says, you're blessed when you can show people how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's when you discover who you really are and your place in God's family. The last thing I want to mention is to emphasize reconciliation, not resolution. Emphasize reconciliation and not resolution. It's unrealistic to expect that everyone to agree about everything, especially during this time. Reconciliation focuses on your relationship, while resolution focuses on the problem. When we focus on reconciliation, the problem loses significance and often becomes irrelevant. We can reestablish a relationship even when we're unable to resolve our differences. Christians often have legitimate, honest disagreements and differing opinions, but we can disagree without being disagreeable. It's learning how to do that. The same diamond looks differently from different angles. God expects unity, not uniformity, and we can walk arm in arm without seeing eye to eye on every issue. We are different. It doesn't mean that we're wrong. It means that we're different. It doesn't mean that you give up on the solution. You may need to continue discussing and even debating, but you do it in a spirit of harmony, knowing that on the other end, the value that you have is in your relationship together. Reconciliation means you bury the hatchet, not in the person, but in the ground, not necessarily the issue. These steps are simple, but challenging. They're important. Could it be that during this time when we are in this place, that God is leading us into deeper places than we ever expected to be before? Could it be that God is calling you in where you are in your isolation and the opportunities that you have to Zoom with other people or talk to other people on the phone, to take you to a place where you have not been before? I don't think that there's anything that happens in our life that goes unused or is wasted, but that God wants to do something real special in us and through us during this time. So my prayer is that as you are living in relationship, that God would just really be near to your hearts, be near to your families, not just couples, but relationships with your kids. Perhaps today you're viewing this and you're alone at home and you're working through some relational issues with others outside of your bubble. But these are important, irregardless. And you may be able to use some of the things that you've heard this morning to encourage some of your own family members as they're going through some of these times. I'm encouraging you to live at peace and work towards peace, not only now, but always. I'd love to be able to pray for you and for your families. Heavenly Father, we bow before you today and thank you for the opportunity of coming together as your church. Just a small piece of the church, really. It's been meeting in different ways around the world, around the globe. But we're thankful that we're able to come before you in this way to be able to talk about an important topic of learning how to trust you in a time when we are facing in our relationships. Perhaps for some of us, these are the most challenging times we've ever had before, living in this social isolation, social distancing, and on top of that, living on top of each other, which can add stress in and of itself. So Lord, help us to make sense of all that's going on around us. Help us to be able to diffuse when we can. And help us to reach out if we need help. And that's why the church is here. You don't have to do this alone. Even in your quiet times, reach out to God. Ask him to give you wisdom to know how to deal with what you're going through. If you need more help, just reach out to the church. And we'd be happy to be able to provide whatever assistance we can. I just pray that God would be made real to you during this time. In Jesus' name, amen. So I pray that God be with you. May his spirit rest upon you. May you feel and know his presence always. Till we meet again. Amen.